The rain was coming down in sheets as I drove back from the office, the wipers of my Ford struggling to keep up. I am Torin, 43, and I work as a software developer in Seattle. Usually I love the rain, find it soothing, but tonight it just mirrored the churning in my gut. Something was off with Gisela, my wife. We'd been together for 15 years, married for 12, and I thought I knew her better than I knew myself. But lately she'd been distant, preoccupied, and her phone was practically glued to her hand. I tried to shake it off, telling myself I was being paranoid. Gisela was a successful architect, her career was demanding, maybe she was just stressed. But the feeling persisted, a knot tightening in my chest with each passing day. One evening, about a month ago, I decided to surprise her at work. I brought her favorite coffee and a pastry from that little French bakery she loved. When I arrived, her assistant, a young woman named Brant, looked surprised to see me. "Gisela's not here, Torin," she said, a flicker of something unreadable in her eyes. She had a meeting off-site. Gisela hadn't mentioned anything about a meeting. I thanked Brant and left, the coffee growing cold in my hand. I called Gisela, but she didn't answer. A few hours later, she breezed in, full of apologies. "Sorry, honey, long day," she said, kissing me on the cheek. "A client meeting ran way over." My phone died. I wanted to believe her, I really did. But the doubt was a seed planted and it was starting to sprout. The next week was a blur of suspicion and anxiety. I found myself checking her mileage, scrutinizing her receipts, even glancing at her phone when she wasn't looking something I'd never done before. I hated myself for it, but I couldn't stop. Then came the night that changed everything. Gisela had gone to bed early, claiming a headache. I stayed up working on a side project, a new app I was developing. Around 1 a.m. I went to the kitchen for a glass of water. As I walked past Gisela's office, I noticed her laptop was on, the screen dimly lit. Curiosity, or maybe it was fate, drew me in. I hesitated for a moment, feeling like a complete scumbag, then I opened the door and stepped inside. The laptop was open to her email. And there, on the screen, was an email from someone named Lysander. The subject line read, "Tonight was amazing." My heart stopped. I clicked on the email. It was a long, gushing message filled with details I didn't want to know, details about their secret rendezvous, their stolen moments, their passionate connection. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. The room started to spin and I had to grab the desk to steady myself. Lysander. Who the hell was Lysander? I scrolled through Gisela's inbox, finding more emails, each one a fresh stab wound. They'd been seeing each other for months, meeting for business lunches that stretched into afternoons, working late at the office, taking weekend trips to scout locations for projects. All lies, every single one. I felt a rage building inside me, a cold, burning fury I'd never experienced before. I wanted to scream, to break things, to confront Gisela right then and there. But I knew I needed to be smart, to gather evidence, to plan my next move. I spent the next few days in a daze, barely functioning. I went to work, went through the motions, but my mind was a million miles away, replaying the emails, picturing Gisela with this Lysander. Who was he? What did he do? Why was Gisela doing this to me? I started digging, using my tech skills to uncover everything I could about Lysander. It turned out he was another architect, a rival of Gisela's, known for his aggressive tactics and ruthless ambition. He was married too, with 2 young children. The hypocrisy was sickening. I found his address, his phone number, his social media profiles. I learned everything about him, every detail fueling my anger and resentment. I confided in my best friend, Cristobal, a former lawyer who now ran a bookstore. Cristobal was shocked but supportive. "Torin, you have to confront her," he said. "But do it strategically. Don't let her know what you know until you're ready." Following Cristobal's advice, I decided to play it cool, to act like nothing was wrong. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done. Gisela seemed relieved, almost giddy. She was probably thrilled that she was getting away with it. But I was watching her, studying her, waiting for the right moment to strike. One evening, about a week after discovering the emails, Gisela announced that she had to go to a conference in Chicago. "It's a big opportunity for me, honey," she said, batting her eyelashes. "I'll be gone for 3 days. Chicago, right." I knew she was lying. I knew she was going to see Lysander. That's when I decided to hire a private investigator. I found a reputable firm online and met with a seasoned investigator named Eamon. I told him everything, showed him the emails, gave him Lysander's information. I want you to follow them, I said. I want proof. Eamon was professional and discreet. He assured me he would get the evidence I needed. The next 3 days were agonizing. I barely slept, constantly checking my phone, waiting for news. Finally, on the third day, Eamon called. "I have what you need, Mr. Torin," he said. "I'll meet you at your office tomorrow morning." The next morning, Eamon arrived with a thick envelope. Inside were photos. Photos of Gisela and Lysander holding hands, kissing, entering a hotel together. There was even a video. The evidence was irrefutable. Seeing it, holding it in my hands, was like a physical blow. The pain was almost unbearable. I thanked Eamon and paid him, then sat alone in my office, staring at the photos, the reality of Gisela's betrayal sinking in. I knew what I had to do. I called Gisela. "Honey, how's the conference?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's great, really productive," she said, her voice bright and cheerful. "I am learning so much." "That's wonderful," I said. "Listen, I have a surprise for you. I'm coming to Chicago." There was a pause. "What? Why?" she asked, her voice suddenly strained. "I just wanted to see you," I said. "I miss you." But I am really busy," she stammered. "I don't think this is a good time." "Don't worry," I said. "I'll just take you to dinner. We can catch up." I hung up before she could protest. I booked a flight to Chicago for that afternoon. I didn't tell her where I was staying or what time I was arriving. I wanted to catch her off guard. When I arrived in Chicago, I went straight to the hotel Eamon had identified in the photos. I checked in and waited. Around 7 p.m. I saw them, Gisela and Lysander, walking hand in hand into the hotel restaurant. I took a deep breath and walked in after them. I saw the color drain from Gisela's face when she saw me. Lysander looked confused, then angry. "Torin, what are you doing here?" Gisela asked, her voice trembling. "I came to have dinner with my wife," I said, my voice cold and hard. "Unless, of course, you have other plans." Lysander stood up, his fists clenched. "This is none of your business," he said. "Actually, it is my business," I said, pulling out the photos and tossing them on the table. "These are my business. Your affair with my wife is my business." Gisela started to cry, begging me to stop, to talk about it in private, but I wasn't finished. "I know all about you, Lysander," I said, turning to him. "I know about your wife, your kids, your questionable business practices." I had spent the past few days digging into Lysander's professional life. It turned out he was involved in some shady deals, cutting corners, bribing officials, falsifying documents. I had copies of everything ready to send to the authorities. "I suggest you leave, Lysander," I said, "before I make things very, very unpleasant for you." Lysander glared at me, then at Gisela, then stormed out of the restaurant. I turned back to Gisela, who was now sobbing uncontrollably. "How could you do this to me?" I asked, my voice breaking. "How could you betray me like this?" She had no answer, only tears and pathetic excuses. I didn't want to hear them. I stood up and walked away, leaving her alone in the restaurant. I flew back to Seattle the next morning. I filed for divorce that same day. The divorce was messy and painful. Gisela tried to deny the affair, to blame me, to manipulate me. But I had the evidence and I wasn't backing down. In the end, she got nothing. I also made sure Lysander paid for his actions. I sent the evidence of his illegal activities to the authorities. He was investigated, charged, and eventually lost his job and his reputation. His wife left him, taking the kids. Karma, as they say, is a bitch. It's been 2 years since the divorce. I'm still healing, still trying to rebuild my life. The trust is gone, maybe forever. But I'm stronger now, more resilient. I learned a valuable lesson, that even the people you think you know best can betray you. And that sometimes the only way to move forward is to let go and start over. I sold our house, bought a small cabin in the mountains, and spend my free time hiking and working on my app. Cristobal comes to visit often, and we spend hours talking about books and life. I even started dating again, cautiously, tentatively. Recently, I received a letter from Gisela. She apologized for everything, admitting her mistakes, acknowledging the pain she had caused. She said she was working on herself, trying to become a better person. I don't know if I believe her, and I don't know if I'll ever forgive her, but I read the letter, acknowledged it, and filed it away. It was a chapter closed, a wound slowly healing. Life goes on. The rain still falls in Seattle, and I'm still here, learning to dance in it, one step at a time.